think a nuclear war, because we have mutual destructive capabilities, is a little far gone. But I know you're talking about Russia. I would fear China more than any of them.
Hmm.
As China goes into Taiwan, and then now we have to make a choice. Do we try to defend Taiwan because we have an interest there, or do we let it go? And if we start to let it go, then that affects the U.S. economy. And as you know, black, white, yellow, the green dollar is more important to the United States than anything else.
Hmm.
So, that's where the issue would come in. As far as Russia, I don't think people understand. A lot of times when we go with Ukraine, like when it says, "Oh, we're doing a proxy war," most of the time that is for the interest of uh, the war. What is it? The war wheel. So the people who invent all of those guns, helicopters, things like that. That's just a place so we can test all of our things without actually being in a war. So if a war does come, it's kind of been battle tested. So that's why we do all these proxy wars everywhere, just so we can battle test all of our industrial all over the world. But it's going to be dangerous because if something does break out, the United States, we are prime. We
Yeah,
uh, we have a lot of targets that they would want to hit.
absolutely. All over the country and all over the world that would even provoke a war. So, Andre Love Crossing Borders sent 100,000 Colombian pesos for support Black Male Media. Give, subscribe, and click the like button. Thank you very much for the first super chat of the night. So, yes, if you guys enjoy this content and you find it educational, make sure you support Black Male Media and hit the Cash App at $ Austin Holloman or his super chat. So, my first question, which most people already know the answer to this, is what are the current geopolitical tensions around the world that could lead to World War III, which I know China and Russia are the main ones, but there's a few of them around the world. Do you know the other countries that could be a problem so people can?
We have Russia. We have, if there goes something in India and Pakistan, because they both have nuclear weapons. Right
Uh-huh.
now, it seems that we have to defend, whatever reason, we always in the Middle East. So we feel we have to defend Israel. So
Hmm.
all the other Muslim countries around that area, they're not perspective of that. So Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, uh, we just kind of mingle in everyone else's business, and that puts us at a detriment.
Now I know there's a lot of guys that like to go to the Philippines, but I don't even think the Philippines would be a safe place because the Chinese that's a place that the Japanese even attacked the Philippines during World War II. So that's always going to be an easy target for the Asian theater of war.
I looked up some destinations that would go. So Fiji, Iceland, New Zealand, Australia. A good place to be would be in Central Africa. Also, where you're at in Brazil and Argentina, and that's because they still are a cash crop. They do a lot of their crops. The other places are near water, so if anything goes wrong, you always have to have a water source and a shelter source, and then they're away from most of the destruction that would happen. So,
Hmm.
if you're in Brazil and they get in the United States, you may get adrift, but you're away from any internal conflict. But what you won't have to worry about, brother, is all them Americans coming down to South America to get away from it. So they're going to be crossing the border the other way.
Yeah, I think Paraguay and Uruguay are very safe places to be as well. Because I mean, most people don't even know what those places are, and nor I think they'd be more neutral than they would be on either side. Even though Paraguay and I don't know about Uruguay, but I know Paraguay is like pro-American, but I don't think that they're like an for war times that pro-American, like an ally. So how significant do you think the act of Russia putting nuclear submarines in Cuba? Like how dangerous do you think that is on a world scale right now?
Yeah, we're not going to have it. We don't want anybody that close to us. And that was the issue before. So the reason Russia is doing it is because we want to get close. We want to we say it, we want Ukraine to become in an United Nations. The reason is if Ukraine is in United Nations, that means we can set up nuclear things there. And then we're on the border with Russia. So Russia just doesn't want it. They don't want us near their border with any nuclear weapons, which I could understand. And so the closest communist country to the United States would be Cuba. So,
Hmm.
and the issue is we don't have a relationship with Cuba. I think Barack Obama tried to start a relationship. I remember when I went there, they were saying that when he was elected, they were really hoping that there was going to be change. When Fidel Castro died, they were like, well, we don't have that dictatorship. We should have change. That didn't take place. I think during that time, you could actually bring back like cigars, liquor. And Trump came in, erased all of that, said, no, we're going back to the way it used to be. So we still have the embargo, which is kind of ridiculous. So where does Cuba get most of their influence? China, Russia, Europe. So that's who they have their alliance to. So they don't have an alliance to us.
So technically, it's not safe to travel to Cuba either. At least I wouldn't right now in this time period.
No, the thing is, if they launch from Cuba, there's no need to attack Cuba no more. I mean, they've already launched, so that's already there. Destroying Cuba would do us no good. If now counter strikes, America's good at some counterintelligence, so we do some things. So that may be where your issues come in, the counterintelligence there.
Okay, so World War I and II were started. World War I was with the what was the Austrian French Duke or whatever his name was, the Austrian Duke.
I think it started with assassination.
Yeah, it was an assassination in Austria and from Germany, and then World War II for the United States was the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Do you think with the third round of that, because it looks like it's at some point going to happen in some sort of way, do you think that China or North Korea would do a similar type of invasion on the United States, or at least attempt?
North Korea, no, we're too far, and I don't think they had the ballistic missiles to go. So what set, not that I'm a history buff, but what set us apart and what made us a lot better protected in World War II was that, one, we were not in Europe. So that's what, Europe and all of those places, they became affected. That's why Russia, Britain, all of those places were affected. Czechoslovakia, they were all taken over. Our distance really helped us out. So if you remember, and this is the time that Japan didn't have enough fuel to go from Japan all the way to the United States and return. That's why it was a kamikaze mission. So what saves us a lot of times is our distance from Europe and from any of those places, and the fact that we're surrounded by two seas. So we had the Pacific and the Atlantic. So that kind of insulates us. But now with the advent of nuclear weapons, it kind of puts us at anyone can strike out and get us.
So the next super chat is from Operation Leenda. He sent $10. But it doesn't matter the age; they will go reserves, National Guard, and call back veterans, inactive reserves. If they can't get enough young guys, they will just increase the age limit. Do you think it's really necessary for there to be a draft with all the technology they have, like with all these drones and all this new age stuff they have for war? Why is a draft even considerable at this point?
Because it still comes down to people. And the crazy thing is, in China, they got over 1 billion people. So if you killed 1 million people a day for a year, they would still have half their population. Just imagine that. You kill 1 million people a day, every day for 1 year. That's 365 million. They got 1 billion. So they still got enough people to come at you. So the numbers can mean things because you still need somebody to control the weapons, to pull the weapons, to do that. So those things are still needed. People are still
I guess
needed.
I never thought of it like that. And even with North Korea's war population, China and Russia, it would be, I think even with the NATO allies and Australia and India, it still wouldn't be, I think they would still be outnumbered, just because of the Chinese population plus the other two. So I've always told people that they need to leave the United States and not come back. They need to just pack up and move. I mean, you don't have to do that, but for me, that's my option. I tried to go back recently. I couldn't do it.
I know. I was there. I witnessed it.
Yeah. I was trying my best not to be a party pooper, but so for example, my countries that I would go to, because I think even a country like Paraguay is safer than Brazil during World War III, let's say. What factors about a country make it safe to reside in during global tensions like that?
Geographical location, its remoteness to away from a nuclear power. So that the resources. So what type of resources do they have? I think in America, if you look at our structure, we have become urbanized. So if you try to like, I remember going to like DR and other countries, and you would see like the raw meat. And people are like, we're so used to packaged meat looking so nice. It doesn't even look, if you get a chicken, it doesn't even look like a chicken. You just see the breast, a little bit of wing. So we have gotten so far away from the agriculture part that people would just die. They wouldn't die even if they were impacted. If they shut down the stores, just remember with COVID, people was going crazy over the toilet paper and when things were out. When they shut down a store and they don't have the resources, the people in the United States are so far from their farming culture and the agriculture that they couldn't survive. They wouldn't know. No milk cows. We don't know how to do that. Slaughter. We don't know how to do that. I mean, I'm just so happy, I'll show you in a second. My dad just taught me how to hunt. He taught me how to smoke meat. He was from the country. So it's like, hey, you got to learn how to smoke the meat. You got to learn how to kill your meat. You know how to dress it, all of those things. But that is so far, especially in Black America. Man, we don't have that. I mean, let me see if I can grab this. This is one of my trophy books. This is one of my trophies I got. And I only say that because when I say I hunt, Black Americans don't like hunt. What do you mean you hunt? We would be at a whole disadvantage, man. We don't know how to do any of those things. Plant seeds.
Yeah.
We don't have any even gardens anymore. So when you go to countries like Colombia, DR, there, it always seems like to me they're one generation outside of the campo. So they always say, oh, I got family in the campo. I know I go to DR and you see they call it chivo. It'd be a goat tied up to a tree. You're like, man, that's kind of cruel. They'd be like, hey, that's dinner tonight. So they know that they take it straight from that tree. They kill it, slaughter, get it ready for you. We are so distant from that, man. We don't understand that. We have no survival techniques. If we lose electricity, we lose grocery shopping. We don't have access to fuel. We stuck.